Hey, welcome everyone back to Blood, Sweat, and Genetics, episode 3. This is the podcast where a father and son go full throttle toward the NPC men's physique stage. We're fueled by caffeine, by discipline, and just a dash of madness, probably. I'm your host, Gonzo Herrero, contest prep dad, human guinea pig, and your favorite neighborhood biohacker. And today it's time to check in on, I guess it's week 3 and 4 of the journey with my son Chandler. So we're talking results, feedback. We're going to talk about some struggles, some breakthroughs, and just interesting things and anecdotes that happen throughout as we go through this contest prep. All right, not your average fitness update, I guess, but here we go. Let's see what we can do. So part 1. The latest developments and real-time results. So let's kick it off with some numbers because the scale doesn't lie, neither does the mirror. So Chandler's down like 6.2 pounds from his baseline. So he's starting to look like someone who belongs in board shorts for sure. The fat's coming off. Shape is revealing itself. The hunger's starting to show in his eyes, which is a pretty good sign. He wants it. He's into this. Me, I started prep at 208. Today I stepped on the scale and I was 189 actually, which is amazing. So yeah, that's a whole bunch of pounds. What's that? 19 pounds down? Jeez. Every single ounce came with a little bit of a price tag. Sleep has not been as good as you would expect, when you're in a caloric surplus. It's been high output. I've been training hard. Food tracking is tighter than a Marvel timeline, at least the original OG Marvel timeline. But the payoff is there. I do feel sharper. I'm leaner. I'm hungrier. Well, I guess literally and figuratively. But we're not ready yet. But we're definitely on our way. We're becoming something. So I guess the second thing to talk about in this update is a little bit of the coach checking in. So we've been doing weekly check-ins with Coach Paul, with Big Paul, and his information. By the way, if you're interested, you should check out the comments and the notes so you can check out his stuff. Paul is an amazing coach. He is extremely knowledgeable. He's taking on clients right now. And if you're interested in contest prep, this is the person I would recommend because he has been an amazing, exhaustive resource. Anything I ask, he pretty much knows. The feedback has been great. So again, if you're considering hiring a good prep coach, I can't recommend Paul enough. So his information is down in the comments. So basically, I think he's happy that we're finally getting the scale to move. For a while there, it kind of like didn't budge, but he's pushing us to start dialing in, a little bit of the work. Just stick with it. His philosophy is like, stay the course, stick with it. We had some minor adjustments in macros here and there, but so far so good. Also, I had a misunderstanding. This is on me for not asking the right questions and not paying attention to the material that he provided prior to starting contest prep. And it was this. I misunderstood the concept of the high days during a carb cycling. I thought that the high days were something that was optional, say. If you needed like a refeed or something, that you should just stay. The basic philosophy is training days are medium days, rest days are low days, and then there's a high day every week that you should take. And you just kind of play around with that. I misunderstood that. I thought the high day was an optional thing. So in order to like stay compliant, I avoided the high days for the last couple of weeks. After clearing that up, clearly, I need the high day. I had one yesterday. It was great. It was strange. Eating that many carbs. My high days are like 550 carbs, which I'm not used to that at all. When my medium days are 175 grams of carbs, so comparatively, that was crazy to me. But it was fun. I did have a cheat meal. I definitely overindulged on the cheat meal, Paul. Just be aware. Like the scale, that was 100% of me. I made the classic mistake of overindulgence there. But it was a life event. I enjoyed it. So do I feel guilty about it? It could have been handled better. But at the same time, I know your advice has always been like, you also have to live life and there is a balance. Now, there shouldn't be any more life events from here until our contest. So we should be fine. Again, the trick being like, if we can avoid the cheat meal can be avoided. And that is optional. And that's what I should be doing. So in any case, that's kind of where we are. So as far as like Big Paul goes, from that perspective, also training has been on point. Training in this fashion that Paul has taught me. Again, I came from a full body, 1 day on, 1 day off, Jordan Peters style of training, which I enjoyed. I really enjoyed that psychologically. I like being in the gym. I like challenging myself, but those were very long workouts. Those workouts were almost 2 hours each, and they were taxing. And I never really realized the fatigue and CNS fatigue that had been accumulated by doing that until I started training in this more, let's call it bodybuilder, basic volume training kind of an approach, where like it's basically to make again a long story short, it's a push pull legs kind of split with a day of rest in between, 6 days a week, which means I only get one low day, which is great because it makes it very easy to comply so far with the diet. But one thing that I did notice is that even though I am under a caloric restriction, absolutely my soreness is almost gone compared to like how I felt doing the full day thing, which made me realize just how much I was probably overtraining. I tend to overdo things. I'm one of those people that trains maybe a little too hard and goes a little too into it. You know, there's two types of people: the ones that don't do enough, like want to like take the easy way out, and then I have to overdo it to make sure I'm doing it, which is me. You know, where I'm filled with a little bit of doubt, and it's hard for me to tell, like, is this just enough? And we know that with exercise, it's about finding the right dosage, much like medication or anything like that. It's you want the minimum effective dose to get the results you want. You don't want to overdo it because there's no return on investment in overdoing it other than fatigue and drain, and that's, you know, that works against you. So from that perspective, from that training perspective, it's been very enjoyable. I've also enjoyed the transition into more machine and cable work, where before I was mostly barbell and dumbbells. Now it seems to be like a good mix. Probably I'd say 60-70% machines and cables, and then 30% barbells and dumbbells. Feels great on the joints, probably as an older competitor. I am 54. Chandler's training has been on point, and which leads me to talk about Mr. Kevin Burke, our second coach, and specifically Chandler's functional movement and athleticism coach, as well as bodybuilding. He does give him like bodybuilding work. So Kevin wants and has been working with Chandler to rewire some of his movement patterns. So still leading, you know, for Chandler, it's about the smoothness of the movement is where the challenge is. It's harder for him to two things: to develop a clear mind muscle connection is one. That's a bit of a challenge, and that's more of a cognitive thing, it feels like. So finding those exercises that we can see, that he can feel, and that he can like intuitively and very easily grasp, that's a bit of a challenge, that Kevin's been working with him on that, as well as the types of movements that will gain the most benefit and results for him from a functional standpoint, and not staying, you know, just in that sagittal plane, for example. Kevin is very big on all kinds of like bear crawls and functional movements on top of Chandler's like more traditional training. Another thing that Chandler does a lot is body weight movements, because again, he seems to gravitate well towards those. So for example, push-ups, wide grip pull-ups, that kind of thing, chin-ups, those work really well for him. And we're working on men's physique. I feel like he is definitely has the build for it. He's got the wide shoulders. He's got the smaller waist. So, you know, he's got good lats. We need to work on his chest a little bit. The arms are good. So again, he is far more, I think, naturally, genetically designed or built for men's physique versus me. I feel like I'm doing men's physique because I'm doing this whole process with him, but I'm not sure that I'll stay in men's physique in the future. I am considering, I've had a lot of input from other people about considering moving to like classic, just because of leg size proportions. I don't have a small waist, that kind of thing. So, you know, TBD, we'll see. For now, though, men's physique. So for now, I'm like Chandler, I'm trying to focus on getting those, you know, bigger delts, that wide lat, trying to see learning how to pose to kind of like minimize the look of the wider waist, that kind of thing, which leads us to our third coach, which is Mr. Michael D. Williams, our posing coach. I actually had a great session with him today. He told Chandler he's getting there physically, working on the mental piece, but very happy with the results. He feels like he's progressed a lot. He's showing that confidence. The trick with Chandler is, again, smoothness of motion. This is something that for him, he tends to break apart sequences very clearly. You can see it almost like when he moves, like he's doing, okay, so from point A to point B, and then the wave, and then the front pose, and then the turn. You can almost see that. Like flow is his challenge, and we're working on that. But he has improved a lot in that. And Michael has been amazing working with him, giving him cues that he understands, you know, like tall chest, be proud, that kind of thing, to like make it more intuitive for him. And also another gift that Michael has is that he's made it super fun. We're having a blast during these lessons and during these practices, which is important because if we're not having fun, then why are we doing this thing? You know? So again, from a posing perspective, we also did a couple like mock scenarios where, like, for example, he explained how like judges may do like a comparison round and how we need to do quarter turns perhaps, or switch around and follow in directions so that we know what to expect when we're on stage to, again, because what he wants to avoid is surprises. He wants to make sure that we're ready for just about any eventuality that may happen. So that's great. Like it's been an amazing experience, and there'll be some video like I'll put in post production here where you can see some of that. But in any case, like, you know, the mirror is showing change for both of us, but we expect the stage that will reveal our character, right? That's what we've heard from Michael and from other coaches. So let's see, let's see how that goes. As far as the nutrition plan, part 3 of this update, if you will, more in detail. My week's diet is dialed in, and it's tighter than a no-carb Tupperware lid. I am dialed in to the T. I know exactly how to handle it now, and I'm actually really enjoying like the prep and the ritual, if you will, and the repetition of contest prep so far. I'm really enjoying like this sequence. It gives me a degree of serenity and happiness to like knock out these lists of these things that we have to do every day. It's really enjoyable. It's addictive almost. Chandler and I, of course, we're both on that carb cycling protocol that I mentioned before. We have low days on rest days. We have our medium days and, one high carb refeed day. Our protein is pretty consistent at 225 during medium days. We have 175 carbs on those medium days also. Low days are 200 grams, I believe, of protein and some fats in there. I believe it's 32 grams, maybe 34. I'd have to check the macros, but it's a low amount of essential fats to add in there. Zero carbs, of course. And then on our high days, it's like I mentioned before, 550 grams of carbs, which is crazy. 200 grams of protein, and I believe the fat is like kept to a minimum on that day specifically. Needless to say, to like avoid that potential fat storage. So yeah, other than that, let's see. Another thing that we've been doing together is watching competitions and learning more about the sport. And what do I mean by that? We're learning more about like the people in the sport, learning who's who, how the sport is scored, what people are looking for. We're listening to a lot of commentary. One thing that I want to bring up is I was able to connect with Mr. Somebody named a very famous individual, apparently in men's Physique, Mr. Hart McGrath. Hart, I'm hoping that you're watching this video. I'm going to tag you on it. Hopefully we can continue our conversation in the future, because Hart has been an amazing resource as far as learning about the ins and outs and the ups and downs and all the happenings and doings in men's physique. He is an incredibly gifted commentator. He's a poet. The guy's a poet. He makes it really interesting. So now we are definitely being inspired by people like Ryan Terry, go Terry, by the way. Olympia, you're my pig. But also stories like Ali Bilal's, which are incredible. And if you're not familiar with Ali Bilal, his story is one that is, they could make a movie out of it. As a young man, when he was 13, he had to leave his village in war-torn Afghanistan, walk to Pakistan, and eventually walk through Iran, Turkey, make his way to Belgium by the age of 17, learn languages along the way, figure out how to become a citizen and work, and then get into bodybuilding there, to now be like the number 2 and number 1 contender versus Ryan Terry for the Olympia. So this is going to be an exciting Olympia if you're into men's physique. This is huge. And we're not even mentioning any of the other people like Buendia and so many others that we're learning about. Again, hat tip. Thank you so much, Hart. Guys, if you are into men's physique at all, I will put the information in the comments again. Do a search for Hart McGrath and his information, and Men's Physique Radio is another resource. All of these things have been amazing. And thanks to that, Chandler and I's knowledge of the sport has grown exponentially, leaps and bounds. So we can't wait to see what the future of the sport is like. So, all right. So I guess to kind of put it all together, what's next? We're both a little lighter, Chandler and I, a little leaner. We're definitely more dialed in. Chandler's definitely finally getting that connection of the brain to bicep, if you will, that mind muscle connection. He's getting it, which makes me very excited as both his partner in this and as his father. It's great to see him take to the sport so well. And I'm also learning what it means to lead with action instead of advice by being a role model, which was the whole intent of this exercise. It's we love bodybuilding. We're finding that we love to compete, and we are both finding that it's all about the action instead of just the advice. And we're both learning that men's physique is way, way deeper than it looks. It's not just a pageant. A lot of people tell us, like, well, this is like the boy equivalent of a beauty pageant. Ladies and gentlemen, it is not. It is an actual sport and art form all rolled up into one. Same as its own way as classic and open and bodybuilding. They are all a combination of sport and art. And it's a beautiful thing. And I'm loving the fact that even as a almost past middle age at this point, I'm 54, it doesn't matter. You can still be new and enjoy it and learn and be excited about it. And it gives me something to connect with my son. My middle son actually has become Connor, who's the competitive rock climber. He's actually become somewhat interested. So who knows? Maybe next year I'll have two of my boys competing in men's physique. He could do it too. He's definitely got the build for it. So in any case, next week we're doubling our posing practice. We're trying to hit every day at least 20, 30 minutes daily. I'll probably increase a little bit of my fasted cardio. I increased it recently, just a little bit. Start those maybe do a little bit of morning lifting together. Maybe we'll have to see how schedules work because I do work full time, so time and family time, all of these things have to be balanced. No excuses, no distractions. Just, again, it's all about blood, sweat, and genetics, which is what this series is about. So in any case, please, if you find this interesting, and I hope you do, and I hope it inspires you to greatness in your own life with your own family and friends, hopefully, and your loved ones, make sure to follow our journey. Tag us on socials at Rise41_podcast. Let us know what you want to hear more of. If you have questions, we'll answer them. If there's any way that we can help you, maybe, by all means, contact us at info@rise41.com. Send your information there or just put it in the comments down here underneath. Because look, ultimately, we're doing this for the dads, we're doing it for the sons, and for anyone that's fighting to build something better, man, with the people you love. This is what it's about. This is what men's physique is about. This is what bodybuilding is about. This is what this entire sport is about. Okay, it's about building something better with the people you love and appreciate. All right, hopefully I'll have another update next week. I will catch you then. Hit the bell, like, subscribe, all those good things, please. And I hope, again, that you found this entertaining and inspiring, and we will see you next week.